Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about a few aspects related to the silver market, supply and demand, opportunities for the metal going forward, as well as addressing some potential threats. I recently stumbled across a few articles that I found extremely interesting and would like to bring them to your attention. So let's get started. Let me first quickly point out the obvious. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please consult a professional before committing any of your hard-earned money to anything. We're gonna start off with this recent article from pvmagazine.com. PV stands for photovoltaics, of course, titled "Why Solar Needs to Slim Down on Silver." Let's go over it together. The article begins by saying that new research for the University of New South Wales in Australia outlined the need for solar cell and module makers to reduce or eliminate the use of silver in their products. Based on expected photovoltaic growth, in line with climate change commitments, solar manufacturers would require at least 85% of global silver reserves, according to the new study. Just so we're clear, we're talking silver reserves, not silver production. We're not talking about the amount of silver that is produced in a year, but the total amount of economically recoverable silver that is still in the ground, plus whatever reserves are in vaults or inventory somewhere. It says it right here. Plenty of recent studies have illustrated how the rapidly growing solar industry could exhaust much of the world's known silver reserves by 2050 or even earlier. Just so we're clear here, we're talking silver reserves, not silver production. We're not talking about the amount of silver that is produced in a year, but the total amount of economically recoverable silver that is still in the ground, plus whatever reserves are in vaults or inventory somewhere. Friends, silver will be as important to the new green economy as oil is to the carbohydrate-based economy that we are transitioning away from. There is no other element on Earth that can transfer electrical current as efficiently as silver. That is just a scientific fact. And for all the talk of reducing the amount of silver used in each panel, the article states, the results show that the current rate of reduction in silver consumption is not sufficient to avoid increasing silver demand from the photovoltaic industry, and that the transition to high-efficiency technologies including TOPCon and SHJ could greatly increase silver demand, posing price and supply risk. So the new, more effective technologies are using even more, not less silver. And of course they do. It's a no-brainer that the more advanced and efficient we make our technology, the more we need to be using the very best materials. And silver sits right at the top. And this whole point is highlighted in another research paper from the same researchers that states, on the demand side, smarter devices with more functions require a circuit design with increased complexity and therefore a higher silver consumption. For instance, a modern smartphone produced in 2012 has 1,500 to 2,700 milligrams of silver embedded per kilogram of circuit boards, compared to only 100 to 500 milligrams in a cellular phone in 2004. In addition, all electric vehicles and hybrid electric vehicles, as promising substitutes to conventional vehicles, consume 1 to 1.5 times more silver due to the high level of electrification. Consequently, the large-scale development of EVs and HEVs as a key component of fighting climate change is expected to drive the total silver demand of the automotive sector from 1,600 tons in 2019, circa 5% of global supply, to around 4,500 tons by 2040, 15% of global supply, where almost half of the silver demand in the auto sector will be contributed by EVs and HEVs. The aggressively increasing silver demand in these emerging industries will very likely raise concerns over the future availability and price of silver for mainly photovoltaics and other applications. And if we go have a look at the scientific paper on which this article is based, we can see that they even went with a low estimate when they said 85% of reserves. The paper itself gives a range of 85 to 98% of reserves. I quote, maintaining business as usual with a dominance of P-type technology could require over 20% of the current annual silver supply by 2027 and a cumulative 450 to 520 kilotons of silver until 2050, approximately 85 to 98% of the current global silver reserves. 98% of the entire silver reserves on this planet would be needed to reach our clean energy goals of net zero emissions until 2050. This is not taking into consideration the planet's second most versatile resource. The silver price should explode, right? Well, maybe. But let's discuss the obvious problem here. As silver will inevitably rise, it will become too expensive for usage in solar panels. Work is already being done on alternatives that mostly involve copper, and while those aren't as effective as silver, if the price of silver gets to the point of it being uneconomical, then it will inevitably be substituted in mass production. Yes, silver is the most conductive metal, but not by a mile. It is 7% more conductive than the second place copper, and while that is significant, as we are talking about terawatts and billions of panels, it's not really that much more to warrant sticking to silver if the price rises substantially. What I think is more likely is a kind of ladder type price increase, where silver rises, copper gets used more, copper rises, silver becomes prevalent again until it reaches the next step and the industry goes back to predominantly copper and so forth. But why is it a ladder and not a seesaw, you might ask? Why does it have to go up and not up and down and up again? Well, that's because they are both finite resources. And when I say finite resources, I don't mean 2000 years from now. We're always being told that we're running out of oil and natural gas, but people rarely discuss metals, which are just as important. Have a look at this from Visual Capitalist. Silver reserves are expected to be exhausted somewhere around 2033. That's 10 years from now, people. I finished my master's degree 10 years ago. It feels like it was yesterday. 10 years is nothing. Look at all the other metals. Zinc and gold are going to be exhausted even earlier by a couple of years. Copper has a couple of decades after that. Look at the renewable energy metals, in which strangely silver, the most important one, was not included. Antimony is on its last legs. Lead, there goes fishing. Indium, I don't even know what it is, but I'll miss it for sure. Ironically, the only metals that will probably outlive me are the rare earths, which are not that rare after all, it seems. Biggest scam since naming this Greenland. My point is, silver may not explode. I mentioned in a previous video that the only way for silver to explode to the expectations that some speculators have is for the dollar, euro, pound, etc. to implode. But make no mistake about it, there's no going back to $5. The time to load up on single-digit silver has gone, and it will never come back. It is impossible, unless the whole world is wrong and we find 20 more Potosi, but I think that the easy pickings have gone, and what is left now in the future will be much costlier to extract, and that will drive the price up considerably. To conclude, I'm buying metals. I'm buying physical. Coins, bars, you name it. People will be like, oh, but historically we've seen the cycles in commodities and they go up and down every 20 years or so. People, did you pay attention to what I just shared with you? There will be no more commodity cycles. There will be no more commodities. Period. In 15-20 years, that's that. It's a wrap. These metals have been here for thousands and thousands of years. This is a moment of unimaginable historical importance that we will be witnessing. A transformational moment for society when we will need to learn to live with little, with what we get from recycling, and that's it. Maybe a few deposits here and there, but that is it. The millennia-long tradition of mining for precious metals is coming to a close in our lifetime. We queue for gas at the station if there's a week-long shortage, yet we're oblivious to what's coming. The end of an era. I'm buying silver, gold, anything. Why do you think China, India, Russia are loading up? They hold the metal, the West holds the paper. Metal that only exists in their game, not in their vaults. If you found any value in my video, please like, comment and subscribe to my channel. This channel is a couple of weeks old, and I would really appreciate your support in spreading the message so that as many people as possible can protect themselves and their loved ones from what's coming. I make 2-3 videos a week, and right now I'm close to having more videos than subscribers, so I would really appreciate some love. The links to the articles are in the description below. Thank you all and happy stacking.